found Madam Speaker to be a thoughtful person, a conscientious person, a person who thinks about things before she acts. And I understand the reluctance of the Speaker and our various delegates to Congress to take the impeachment route. The impeachment route has been brought into disrepute by the previous efforts of impeachment for things that were not high crimes, not misdemeanors, not even any of our business. But what we have allowed that abuse of the impeachment process to do is to basically make us so gun-shy, the political people so gun-shy, that they will not undertake it when the people who should be impeached actually confess to the press, to the nation, of the crimes they have committed. They didn't pull any punches. They admitted to wiretapping without legal authority. They admitted to a great list of things that are crimes against our law and our Constitution. And so we cannot allow the fact that the process was abused the last time it was implemented to prevent us from using it again. That will allow those people to have taken away, to have abrogated a whole section of our Constitution, and maybe one of the most important sections. It's the only section that allows us to prevent the reimposition of a tyranny. So we can't allow that, unfortunately, all too recent episode to take the teeth out of our constitutional rights. So I would request that those who have fallen off the horse, become gun-shy, get back on and ride forward to do the right thing.
Hello. Oh, good. I'm from Montpelier. Madam Speaker, with all due respect, for which you are justified to have a lot of respect, specifically for being here. Much thanks. However, I would like to say that you are the most important person on the planet at the moment. You alone stand between the continuation of the status quo of these monsters moving forward into Iran and worse, and blocking everything that the Democratic Party might be trying to accomplish in Washington. It's all going to be blocked. They must be removed for their crimes. If you lead this House, they will elect to impeach in the joint resolution. Now, I'd like to just briefly talk about going to the source, which is the Constitution, and two statements by the founders. And I'd like to ask you, which of these things do you find not worth defending? The Fourth Amendment, the right of the people to be secure against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. I can't imagine that you disagree with that. The Fifth Amendment, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless indictment by a grand jury, nor shall any person be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, which has happened to American citizens under these monsters running this government. Sixth Amendment. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall be informed of the crimes and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witness against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense, denied by laws passed by the Republican Congress with some Democratic help. And the monsters who put these actions into force, denying the Constitution, abridging and abrogating their oath of office to protect and defend the Constitution, stand unsullied by any attempt to remove them from power, which is what they deserve. Because we all know, as the lady over here said, that they have committed these acts. Now, I want to just give you two quotes from the founders. As was stated many times, impeachment is listed 6 times in the Constitution. God never comes up. They found impeachment much more important to talk about than God. Okay. So this really weighs on them very heavily, all right? Because they were scared to death of exactly what we've got right now. An egregious executive abrogating the Constitution, abrogating his oath, lying, committing crimes against the Constitution. James Mason said, "No point in the Constitution is of more importance than the right of impeachment. It is the answer to the singular question of our time, shall any man be above justice?" Do you disagree with George Mason? I cannot believe that you do. And I'll close with James Madison. And he's speaking to you, because if you leave this house, they will follow, and we will have hearings. It won't be the end of the world. It won't take 2 years. I think it'll actually go pretty quickly, because the crimes are so easily accountable. James Madison said, it may perhaps on some occasion be found necessary to impeach the president himself. Do not fear this moment. It is the moment for which we have prepared you. James Madison.
To lead in a way that might be somewhat different than the actual conclusions you're looking for are characterized as not leading. I don't take the actions I do out of fear, and I don't take them out of a desire to be polite.
Constitution seriously. I do realize that impeachment is important in that process, and I trust the current leadership in the House and the Senate, and I trust specifically the leaders. And I understand that's different than the process that you would wish, but that's my answer to, I do value the Constitution, yes. And then the person in red, and then the person in purple.
Frankly, it's Bruce Marshall from Rochester. I do not trust our elected officials at this point in time. I actually ran for Congress because of the fact that Senator Leahy, who was opposed to the impeachment, we know this from last year at the Randolph meeting, was opposed to it on various things. The issue is, it goes to the fact that there's been a coup in this country. The coup started at 9/11, and the Democratic Party is not opposed to that. They've gone right along with it. There's never been a proper investigation of 9/11, which allowed 3 days later for the abrogation of basically the War Powers Act and the declaration of war, so that we can have a 50 years war. We all know this, and this is what we're trying to stop. And I think this is the issue. The issue is you really want to support the Democratic leadership, the Republican leadership. The Republicans, I think one of the questions is, do they want Hillary Clinton or someone like that to have the same power with signing statements? Do you want Jim Douglas to have signing statements powers and make your position irrelevant in terms of the balance of power of things, how things go, or is this going to be a charade? I think many people feel that it is a charade, what has happened. Okay? Senator Sanders, Representative Sanders could have called for an impeachment. He chose not to. We have Dennis Kucinich who's now doing the right thing. And the issue with the 603 impeachment, it's about democracy, but it's also about principle. And the principle is what comes forth. The principle here is to uphold the Constitution as we are saying here. And that's where Vermont is saying, we want to save the Republic. Okay? It has been a coup. The Confederacy has taken over. Okay? And we have to stop them. This is Gettysburg. Okay? This is where we need your leadership. You have actually led. You are here. You've listened to us. That is what is right. We appreciate that. In fact, you're almost saying, in a certain sense, yes, I agree with you. I agree with impeachment. But frankly, what I challenge you is, are you going to save your party? Okay? Because there is a lot of political things here. Trust the Democrats. They'll take care of it. We'll go after the pawns. We won't really call on 911 troops. You know, we'll allow the anthrax letters to keep us quiet and to keep witnesses like Sybil Edmonds and other people from really dropping the beans on these people. Bush should have been out of power a long time ago. There should have never been. He should have never ran even for re-election.
Excuse me, I need to stop at noon.
Okay, I will finish. To impeach or not to leave, that is the question. You've already started the process. We look for a miracle. Thank you.
I would also like to quickly say that I am a Democrat and proud to be a Democrat, but in this role, I am Speaker of the Vermont House, and I consider myself a leader in Vermont, and I don't make those decisions necessarily based on what's right for the Democratic Party. I make my decisions based on what I believe is right for Vermonters. Fully acknowledging that I wouldn't have this role if there weren't a Democratic majority in the House. Yes.
Madam Speaker, representatives, in particular, David Sharp and Michael Fisher from my district, thank you very much for listening and talking with us. I want to make a quick point from my perspective about trust. I'm willing to support and trust leaders here and leaders in Washington that are working with us. I don't feel that impeachment and the investigative process that's happening in Congress and Washington are mutually exclusive. I do believe that we cannot trust the White House to answer these investigations or participate responsibly. We all know Karl Rove. We all know what's happened in the past 6 years. And the answer, or the question isn't whether we have time to do the impeachment process as well. We don't have time not to.
That's right.
Just to save folks the anxiety, I have 2 more people I'm going to call on. One is this person in the, now it looks blue to me, but I thought it was purple before, and then this woman in the front corner. And then I'm sorry, but we do, then we'll turn it to Dan.
Thank you. I'm Carl Leitner from East Montpelier, and I have a non-rhetorical question, or rather a request, which I will preface by thanking you for demonstrating to us today how reasonable people can share an abhorrence for the violations of the Constitution that we have seen this administration commit, and nonetheless differ on what to do about them, and have a civil discussion about them, and even a civil discussion about how to conduct that civil discussion. I would like to request in that light, since we are standing on the threshold of a debate this afternoon in this chamber, a debate that you have opposed having for the past several months, and all the representatives know that their elected leader has opposed that here. I would like to request that you convey to the other representatives of the people of the state of Vermont that this is a matter that reasonable people can disagree on, and that you would like them to vote their conscience on this issue.
I have conveyed that. I have conveyed that in the Democratic caucus yesterday. I've stated my position. I've stated something similar to what I said here. I've said I understand that members in this room can disagree. I also believe there are people in the room who agree with me, who will make choices that are more political. And I respect that too. I've been very clear.
Thank you.
Yes.
My name is Juliana Garces, and I'm a new American. I became American a few years ago. First of all, I want to thank you because in the country where I come from, you don't get this. For me, it's a privilege to be here, standing before you and being able to talk what we think. And it's really an honor to do this, and we thank you. I understand that, thanks to my friend here, that impeachment is only a House process. So we need your voice, not only as Americans for America, but I'm thinking of the greater picture. I'm thinking of the world out there. Whatever we do here, wrong or good, it ripples all through the world. We're supposed to be the greatest country in the world. And who's going to give a voice to Fallujah and the massacre that happened there? Who's going to give a voice to Abu Ghraib and the torture that happened there? And the same in Guantanamo. And in Darfur. Who's going to give a voice to the people that don't have a voice because have died because of these crimes to humanity? We are only asking to give them a voice, to give a voice to the people that don't have a voice. And we're asking you today to give us that opportunity. And I thank you.
I just want to draw this to a close. I know that Liza would like to come here. Senator Shumlin is going to be available to talk to you. I would like to answer you and just close by saying I really appreciate you. You spoke last week. I really appreciate what you bring to this conversation. And you are really true. You're really correct. This is about our voices and sharing our voices. It's also about being heard. It's also about really listening. And that's what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about our whole country really listening and really learning from these mistakes. And all of you and I have come to a different conclusion about how best to proceed with that listening. And I am very, very grateful for the extent to which you are paying attention and bringing your voices to our democracy and making it work. I would love to have the same level of energy and voice behind having health care for all Americans and for rebuilding our public school system all across America, and for having a safe, secure energy future for our kids and their kids. And by moving beyond this and getting back to the federal government that has those, that represents and will work for those priorities, we can get there. I believe that by following the process that is currently underway in Washington with new leadership, we will allow for those voices to be heard in a way that will allow our country to move forward and back to the country that we want to be proud of. But none of that would happen without all of us participating in the way that you have today. Thank you.
They say that freedom is the ability of the people to speak, and that democracy is when the government listens. And we want to right now give the floor to Peter Shumlin for having that wisdom of democracy last week and listening to the people. Thank you, Peter.
I just came to thank you for helping us to move forward on this important voice from Vermont that I think is being heard around the world. So I'm here to thank you from the bottom of my heart. I don't think that any movement of this nature happens without extraordinary leadership. So I want to thank Dan DeWalt from Windham County for his vision, Jamie Earl, Dan Earl, thank you. Jamie Earl, Liza, I'm sorry, Jamie. Where's Jamie? James. There he is. There's the man. James, Liza, and David. You know, the action the Senate took wouldn't have happened had it not been for the grassroots support of all of you. And I first want to, as I made very clear, apologize for not moving sooner and more swiftly, but to give you the credit for coming here, for speaking to us, for proving that democracy is alive and well in Vermont. And I thank you for that. I just want to say one word and I'm going to move on, as we just are taking a vote in the Senate. But I have, as you know, I have believed for many years now, that there's no President of the United States and no Vice President of the United States that have ever worked harder to earn impeachment hearings than George Bush and Dick Cheney. I also understand that my view is not necessarily shared by the people that I work closely with, and for whom I have tremendous respect. Gaye Symington, who I think has shown tremendous courage and leadership, Peter Welch, Bernie Sanders, and Pat Leahy. My own view is this: I cannot think of a better way to get to the bottom of the investigations of who said what when, who lied to the American people and to the world when, than to put George Bush and Dick Cheney and the rest of the gang under oath and simply ask them those questions. That's what impeachment hearings would accomplish. So I say to all of you, thank you. Vermont has led the way so many times. We were the first state in the country to abolish slavery when that was long overdue. We were the first state in the country to take seriously protecting our natural resources when that was long overdue. We were the first state in the country to stand up for the civil rights of all Vermonters by passing civil unions and inventing it when that was long overdue. And I say that the work that you're doing here today will help Vermont to be the first state in the country that leads the way to the most destructive and deceptive administration in American history. And I thank you for that. The discussion and vote's going to happen in here starting at 1 o'clock. Your time can best be spent beating the odds and going out and lobbying your representatives who will listen to your voices as they will listen to all voices about this important vote that's going to happen this afternoon. If this passes on this floor this afternoon, it will be advice long overdue that will be heard around the world. If it fails, I urge you to continue to talk to Congress, the new Democratic Congress, to plead with them to move forward on this important initiative. And I thank you from the bottom of your heart, my heart, for being good Vermonters and for your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. We do want to let you get to the cafeteria soon. One announcement is that we are such a huge group that the pages have been overwhelmed with these little slips, and they have not been able to deliver them to the reps. They will be sitting in a stack on the desk when your rep comes to the session at 1 o'clock. So if you haven't filled out this slip, it's very important that you do so that your rep knows that somewhere in this crowd are some of their constituents. And I'll have those here at the podium. One other announcement is that if you have a clipboard of registration, if people could bring those to the podium before.
Since it is my responsibility to make good on your accommodations, make good in terms of things flowing freely for you as well as the House of Representatives and this building, I would just bring to your attention that obviously when you are about to leave for lunch and you all get up from those of you who are in the well of the House, that when you come back, you won't have your seat again. We also have some school groups who may also take up part of it. So what I am just simply making you aware of is that when you come to the door and the doorkeeper says there is no more room in the inn, you understand why. It's a physical impossibility to get all of you back in here, plus anybody else who might have shown up. I thank you very much for your willingness to bend with all of the wild and crazy rules that I have to go through. And I make just one other comment, that though the House was not in session now, when it is in session, signs are not allowed. placards are not allowed, that kind of thing. And secondly, of course, many of you have got your signs around your neck, and you remember from last week, if you fold them so that it becomes a name tag, we can bend the law. Oh, and of course, if the decisions and the debate make comments or make decisions that you are not happy with, or that you are happy with, either way, the speaking out loud, the comments, the cheering, the clapping is not acceptable in the House. The Speaker would hit the gavel, and then it's my responsibility not to be as accommodating as I hopefully have been. So just remember, if it passes and you're all elated, please go outside and wake up the town. If it's not, then the same thing applies. Thank you very much.
If I may, I would just like to say two brief things. One, on my way up here this morning, I had the distinct privilege of being on the radio with Elizabeth Holtzman and Daniel Ellsberg. And they both look to Vermont and are very proud and very excited about what we're doing here and send their best wishes to what we're doing. And with respect to what we're about to do, I would urge you, the folks in this building are quite invested in the tradition of the building and the tradition of the House and the process and decorum. And I would urge all of you, even though there are times when we become very frustrated, there are times when we just have a hard time getting our point across, if we can honor the decorum that they ask, it will absolutely translate into more yes votes. And if we lose our tempers or we lose our cool, whether it's right or wrong, that'll translate into no votes. And we want the yes votes today. So let's go get them. Thank you.
Just as people are leaving, I would like to remind you that a key point by Gaye Symington is that our Senate is holding Bush accountable with hearings. And our answer to that is there is no accountability if there is no consequence. The bare hearings have no consequence. And we want our representatives to understand that impeachment is the only consequence provided in our Constitution. And therefore, to have any effect, the hearings must have the consequence provided by our Constitution. And we want them to support that provision. Thank you very much.